Database normalization in SQL Server. In every particular data or in every particular project that we are working in, we have to work with the data. So the most of the times when we are working with the data, the problem arises is that we get the data which is completely messed up. We get the data which is not organized. We get the data which is unstructured. So it is a very big trouble to the developers working with the data. So in order to make it simpler, in order to make it simplified, there are a lot of technologies that generally IT sectors use. Hi, I'm M. Asif Hussain from KnowHow Academy. What are we going to learn in this video? We are going to learn what is database normalization with one practical example. We are even going to see what is meant by database denormalization. So my dear viewers, here I have a data which consists of a student's information and from which department they are belonging to. So if we carefully observe here, we have a student name column, gender column, fees column, department name column, department teacher column and department location column. So now if we carefully observe, the teacher and the student, they also belong to the same university. The students, they belong to the same university and the teachers, they also belong to the same university. So now the concept is that if we see here, so the teacher Sam is dealing with the department AIML. So if we see here, the teacher Sam is dealing with the AIML department and James is dealing with the computer science engineering department. So if we understand the logic, in this particular table, we have three different informations. We have the information of a student, we have the information of the departments, we have the information of the location, we even have the information of the student's fees details and the student gender. So now when there are these kinds of different informations in one particular table, it is required before doing some sort of transformation, before writing any query, before doing any data cleansing part, it is required to understand the data. So now the data is having three different informations in one single table. So in order to make it much more simpler, in order to make it much more simple, so what we generally do, we use the formula or we use the technology called as normalization. So in SQL Server, database normalization plays a very vital role. So what does this generally database normalization do? Database normalization, it helps to reduce the data redundancy, data dependable, which is there. Now the point is, what is data redundancy? In a general terminology, if I would like to explain, it is nothing but it reduces the duplicate information. So the database normalization, it is helpful to reduce the data redundancy and dependency as well. So now if we see here, in this particular table, there are multiple informations which are repeated, which are same. So now what we want to do, we will just convert this particular table into a normalization form. So now again, when I am talking that we have to convert it into a normalization form, it doesn't mean that we have to apply some queries, some logic, no. From one table, we will segregate the data into two or more different tables. The data, the multiple data, for example, in this particular table, we have three informations: students information, departments information and student fees information. So these three informations, we have it in one particular table. What we generally do, we simplify this table by just dividing it into two or more different tables. So in order to do that, let us consider that I am creating a primary key column which is department ID. So what I am doing here, I am using a department ID as a primary key column, just I am adding it. So what I have done here, the first step that I have implemented is I have separated the department table. I have separated the department table. So now if we carefully see here, in this department table, as there are only two departments, one I have AIML and another one I have computer science, which is CSC. So now in this department table, we are getting the department ID column which I have created. Now this is a primary key column. A table can have only one primary key column. So department names, department teacher and the department location. So all the departments are into one table now. Now if we carefully observe, the department table which I have segregated, now the rest of the informations will be the students information. The rest of the informations will be the students information. Now the students information that we have student ID column, we have student name column, we have gender column and we have fees column. Now the department ID column that I have created, which is a primary key in this particular table, the same department ID column, when it comes to the another table which is a student table, this will become a foreign key. This will become a foreign key. So the one which I have created, that is a primary key, and the one that we are linking up as a reference, now that will become a foreign key. Now, so these are the two constraints that we have it here. So now if we carefully observe, the information is very clear. The information is very clear and understandable. There is no mess up here. So as we can see that student ID number 1, who is Asif, and he is male, the fees is 20,000 and he is with the department ID 1. Okay, he comes under the department ID 1. So now when I consider that department ID 1, so now 1 is from which department? AML department. Who is the teacher? Sam is the teacher. And from which location? Chicago. Alright. So now there is no need to add department name, department teacher, department location, adding 3 or 4 or 5 columns, messing up the data, getting confused. So in order to avoid all these particular aspects, what we are doing is that we are just converting the raw table or the raw data that we have into a normalized form. So now when I talk about the different types of normalization forms that we have, starting from the first normalization form till we have the sixth normalization form. But generally in the companies and in the databases in the real time, we work till third normalization form. So in the first normalization form, the table should be atomic, where there is no dependability that we have it here. Now the concept is that in the database normalization, we are making sure that the data redundancy should not be there and it should not be dependable. So now what is database denormalization? We have something called as database denormalization. So the advantage of this database denormalization is that it will help us the query performance by reducing the complexity. Database denormalization, yeah, it combines 2 or more different tables into one. That is a very easy thing. So what is the output? What is the output and what is the advantage of it? The advantage of it is that it will help us in the better query performance by reducing the complexity. So that's where we use database denormalization. And there are multiple forms depending upon the application, depending upon the data that we have. We use the different types of normalization forms, such as first normalization form, second normalization form, third normalization form. So it purely depends upon our practicality that we have it and the project that we are working with it. So in this video, my dear viewers, we have learned what is database normalization. We have seen a practical example. We have known what are the different types of the normalization forms that we have. We have also learned what is database denormalization in SQL Server. Thank you for choosing KnowHow Academy as your source for IT knowledge. We are always here to help you to navigate the tech world. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. It's been a pleasure sharing this information with you. Stay curious and keep learning.